Okay, so what are we going to do with our tiles? Well, the project is a view from my window, and you're going to turn this piece of clay into a picture, and you can decide whether it's a real view or an imaginary view, a landscape, whatever really, but that's the theme. Now, if you don't want a square in the end, if you wanted, let's say, a run of tiles to go behind the sink as a splashback, you can cut this in half and put half at the side and create your picture that way. What you're going to do is you're going to draw the picture using a pin or a point or this is a wooden skewer, and you're going to add clay to the surface. I don't want a flat tile piece. I want something with a little bit of what we would call bas relief. And just to show you, and I'm not going to do the picture now, let's say I'd made a fish. So in my view from my window, because I'm a underwater sort of character, I've got a fish, and here's the fish's body, and I want to build that up. So you can use some of the spare clay that you've got. Now, you should wrap that clay before you finish the rolling the tiles in the first place. You can then make some thinner clay like this, and you can add it to the surface of your piece. Now, I'm going to just smooth that on because my clay is still quite damp, but if your clay is a little bit dry, you might want to take your knife to score the surface of the picture where you're going to put the clay, like that, add some water, and then put your clay onto the top of that and push it in quite hard. Now, the main thing here is not to let air bubbles underneath the surface of your extra clay because it will come off in the kiln. Now, once you have that joined on like that, see, my fish's tail is going to stick out from the tiles. I want a little bit of three-dimension. Okay, there we go. And he's got a curly tail. Now, you can use the wooden tool which I included in the toolkit to make sure that that's nice and smooth and that you're happy with it. You can take a little bit of clay out from the back of the tiles, but don't take too much, because if you go too thin, you will end up with a crack in your tiles. So that's just a little bit of texture going around behind my fish, and you might find something like the here we go, the end of a spoon, and you can use that to make, in my case, I'm going to make some decorative surface texture. Okay, you will come up with your own ideas. So my fish has fish scales. I'm not going to do the whole thing, we don't have time in the video. You will do that for the whole of your piece, and then you're going to paint it with slips. Now, slips are clay mixed with water, and they need to be put on thickly. You will need a little brush, and you need to mix the slip in the pot. Make sure it's nice and creamy. This is blue, doesn't look blue, and this guy is in the sea. And we're going to mix it and paint nice and thickly onto the surface of our piece. Now, two things. First of all, if you want to make mixed colours, so blue and yellow makes green, for instance, then you can mix it in a saucer to, or a little dish to get a mixed colour. Once you have this slip on, if you leave that for a few hours until it's a little bit dry, you can draw into the surface of it using a pin. Okay, so I'm just going to do some little design, and that goes through the paint into the clay. There we go. Now, once you've done your whole picture, and you need to paint the whole picture, lots of different colours, you're then going to cut out the tiles. And in my case, it's a square. I'm going to cut the tiles around the piece. So I'm going to start with a tile that starts here, comes up, and then down. It does not have to be a square tile. The second one, which is going to come around the fish down here and that way. So you don't need to make them square, and you need them to interlock a little bit. So try not to have very sharp edges. I've got a very sharp edge there, and we're going to come round here. So let's say that's 4 tiles. You're then going to leave those to dry, and then you're going to pack them very carefully into a box to bring them back to the pottery for firing and glazing. And when I glaze them, I'm going to give them a clear glaze which will seal all the colours. And when you want to cement them onto a wall, I can explain that if you need help with that. Thanks very much.